So who's going to be the designated survivor? Right? It is the most morbid thing, but it's a real thing. They do it every year. Every State of the Union, they pick somebody, some lucky stiff from the administration, from the cabinet, to be a designated survivor, to not go to the State of the Union address. It feels like it's left over like from the mutually assured destruction days of the Cold War or something. But the logic of it really is apocalyptic. The logic of it is that if some catastrophe physically happens at that event, at the State of the Union, while all of Congress and the president and the vice president and the Joint Chiefs and the Supreme Court and everybody are all in that same physical place, if something, God forbid, terrible happened there during that event, the designated survivor, by virtue of the fact that that person didn't attend the event, that designated survivor would be the one, would be the person who would reconstitute the government of the United States and keep the government going after the president and the vice president and the whole rest of the cabinet and the whole Congress were all, swallowed up in a hellmouth or something. It's very weird. The whole idea of it is very dystopian and weird. But they do it every year. And you'd think, given the responsibility associated with being the designated survivor, you'd think they'd pick like the most widely respected person. They'd pick the person who everybody agrees would be the best choice to take over the country in the wake of an unimaginable disaster. You'd think it would be like a really high-profile person they picked every year. They don't do that. Actually, kind of the opposite. The person does get some attention for being picked as the designated survivor every year, but usually the person is kind of not well known. And so like in this cabinet, you might expect that they'd pick maybe the labor secretary, right? Labor is not a particular area of interest for this president or really for any Republican president. So maybe they just, keep things quiet, pick somebody low key, make the labor secretary the designated survivor this year. Could they do that? Oh, no, can't do that. Trump's labor secretary is Lori Chavez DeRemer, and if they pick Lori Chavez DeRemer as the designated survivor, then people will Google Lori Chavez DeRemer, and this is what they will find. Headline: Labor Secretary Lori Chavez DeRemer under investigation for, quote, inappropriate relationship with employee. These are reports that started with a complaint that was reportedly filed with the Inspector General of the Labor Department. Trump Labor Secretary, quote, accused of drinking in her office during the workday and committing travel fraud by having her chief of staff and deputy chief of staff, both of whom are now on leave, quote, make up official trips to destinations where Chavez DeRemer can spend time with family or friends on the taxpayer's dime. Headline: Trump's married labor boss accused of booze-filled fling with staffer. Headline: Chavez DeRemer's security staffer placed on leave amid scandal investigation. The labor secretary has been accused of engaging in a romantic relationship with said security staffer. Headline: Lori Chavez DeRemer reportedly under investigation for misusing funds. Headline: Trump labor secretary accused of taking staff to a strip club on an official trip. That's a real headline. I mean, now amid everything else, you are probably a nice person, an empathetic person. Perhaps you're not just agog by looking at those headlines about that scandal. Perhaps you are thinking, oh, wow, this must be really hard on her family. Headline: husband of Labor Secretary Lori Chavez DeRemer accused of sexually assaulting two staffers. Headline: Labor Secretary's husband barred from Labor Department headquarters amid staffers' sexual assault allegations. Headline: D.C. police search Labor Secretary's office in sexual assault investigation. The Metropolitan Police Department searched Lori Chavez DeRemer's office as it looks into allegations against her husband. Since then, we've had further news that the Trump-appointed U.S. attorney in Washington has decided that there won't be any criminal charges brought against the Labor Secretary's husband for the alleged sexual assaults inside the Labor Department's headquarters building. But does that mean they're going to let him back in? I don't know. So yeah, in a normal administration, even a normal Republican administration, maybe somebody like the Labor Secretary would be the designated survivor at the State of the Union. But do you want to put a spotlight on that hot mess right now? That absolutely radioactive scandal engulfing everything related to Trump's Labor Secretary? Yeah, maybe not. Maybe it's not going to be her. Maybe instead you go with another, low-profile department. One of those departments where only real government geeks even know what the department does. Like maybe you'd go with something really obscure like the Commerce Department. Who's Trump's Secretary of Commerce again? Headline, new details from Epstein files reveal Trump Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick had years-long business tie with sex offender. Oh yeah, that's the Commerce Secretary. So maybe we can't have the Commerce Secretary be the designated survivor either. Not when today, the day before the State of the Union, we had the former British ambassador to the U.S., Peter Mandelson, arrested and perp-walked out of his home because of his Epstein ties. That's right after former Prince Andrew was arrested as well. Both of those arrests are not just because of their Epstein links, but because of their Epstein links and their government jobs. Peter Mandelson, it's for when he had the exact same job as Howard Lutnick, but in the British government rather than the U.S. government, right? Meanwhile, here, all the Trump-connected people, like Trump himself and like Howard Lutnick, Trump's Commerce Secretary, they are apparently in no trouble at all, but maybe you wouldn't want to highlight that at the State of the Union. I mean, will Dr. Oz be at the State of the Union? Trump's Medicare guy? Dr. Oz personally invited Jeffrey Epstein to a Valentine's Day party in 2016. Not like a million years ago before Epstein had ever been arrested or served jail time, but in 2016 he invited him. Because, what adult Valentine's Day party is not complete without the presence of one of the most notorious convicted sex offenders and child sex traffickers of all time, Dr. Oz. Is Dr. Oz going to be there at the State of the Union? Maybe they'll sit him alongside the survivors of Epstein's trafficking ring who are going to be brought to the speech by Democratic lawmakers. Will Dr. Oz shake their hand? Will Howard Lutnick shake their hand? Will Trump? All of those guys, of course, deny any wrongdoing when it comes to their long, creepy, seemingly kind of intense relationships with Jeffrey Epstein, about which they have not been particularly forthcoming. Maybe Trump will have to go with a more high-profile department, a more mainstream department for the designated survivor this year. Maybe like head of the Department of Justice, right? That's always a prestigious job. The Attorney General could be the designated survivor. It's happened a couple of times in the past. Would you want it to be Pam Bondi this year? Would you want to shine a light on Pam Bondi's department right now? Give people a reason to Google, oh yeah, what's she in charge of? What's been happening with her department? Headline, FBI Director Kash Patel, during what his spokesman said was an official trip to Milan for security meetings, was filmed guzzling from a beer bottle and celebrating in the locker room with U.S. Olympic hockey players on Sunday. Quote, 8 former FBI and Justice Department officials sent MS Now a copy of that video, which they said was drawing outrage as it rocketed around FBI and DOJ circles. Quote, FBI spokesman Ben Williamson told MS Now on Thursday that Kash Patel was going to Milan for a series of, quote, business meetings. And he said it was unfair to describe Patel's trip as having to do with hockey or pleasure of any kind. Quote, your rag outlet wrote that he went to hang out at the Olympics on the taxpayer dime, Williamson posted Saturday on Twitter. Then on Sunday, several videos emerged on social media, in fact, showing Patel in the locker room after the hockey game, with one in particular drawing outrage from current and former FBI agents. It depicted Patel pouring what appeared to be beer down his throat, spraying some of it in the air, and screaming in celebration. The FBI spokesman did not respond to a request for comment about the video. NBC News is also reporting tonight that the Justice Department has just had to drop their humiliating total debacle of an effort to bring criminal charges against 6 Democratic senators and members of Congress. That comes after the geniuses over at Pam Bondi's department reportedly couldn't get a single grand juror to agree to the indictment of those members of Congress. Not a single grand juror. Not that they couldn't get the grand jury to agree to the indictment. They couldn't get a single grand juror, meaning they couldn't get one person. They couldn't even get one vote. In the last few days, at Pam Bondi's Justice Department, we've had Justice Department lawyers abjectly apologizing to judges in 3 different states, essentially begging not to be held in contempt. At least one Justice Department lawyer has just been held in contempt in Minnesota. Things are really seemingly breaking down there. We're going to talk tonight about a novel effort to try to document and try to sort of wall off and preserve evidence of all the abuses and authoritarian misuses of the Justice Department under Donald Trump and Pam Bondi. This is something I don't think you've necessarily heard about anywhere else. I hope you'll stick with us for that a little later on in the show tonight. But what would you, would you pick Pam Bondi to be a designated survivor given what's going on at the Justice Department right now? Would you want to put a little extra spotlight on her? I'm not sure that you would. But who else could you choose? Maybe Kristi Noem could be designated survivor from Homeland Security. You want to give the American people reason to focus on her for an extra minute, do you think?